Okay, good morning. Here we are on the 26th of Tishrei. Yes, Hayom Yom. Okay, so this Hayom Yom resonates beat for beat with the Tanya that we're going to be learning. The interpretation of the book, of the verse, is a verse in Tillim. Forever, O God, your word stands firm in the heavens. So this verse is quoted by the Alter Rebbe, actually in today's Tanya, in the name of the Baal Shem Tov. Although that interpretation is found in Midrash Tillim, as explained also in Likutei Amora in the Maimer Gibiyom Hazeh Yechaper, but the Alter Rebbe had a special reason for naming the Baal Shem Tov and saying where this is coming from, that it was a saying of the Baal Shem Tov. It's a verse in Tillim, right? Le'olam Hashem Yidbarach L'Nitzah B'Shemayim. But he quotes the Baal Shem Tov. He had a special reason for this, because it was on the second day of creation when God said, let there be Shamayim, let there be a firmament, Rakia. And it is this utterance which stands firm in the heavens, which we'll see this language in a minute when we get to the Tanya. And what day was it? That was Tuesday. Excuse me, Yom Sheni, Monday. Associating the quotation with, it was the second day of creation. Associating the quotation with the Baal Shem Tov is an eternal memorial that the Baal Shem Tov was born on the second day of the week, Monday. And the 18th Chai Elo was on a Monday. And of course, the difference between, well, it even comes into English, Sunday and Monday. Sunday, the first day of the week, sun is light, right? Let there be light. Monday is an allusion to the moon. In French, it's called lundi, which is lunar. And that's the day of contraction, right? When the moon was shrunk. And that's the day when Tzimtzum became part of the creation, and it created the ability for there to be a division. And therefore, what follows from division is the ability for there to be multiplicity, many different things. And that's Lundi, or Monday, which is the day of the Rakia, that division which allows multiplicity to start to exist. So we'll cover this now from a different perspective in the Tanya. Tanya page, lessons in Tanya, excuse me, page 82. Page 82. And in Likutei Amorim, continuing on page 276. The point we made yesterday, that the Alter Rebbe made yesterday, not we, is that everything can only exist because there's a spark of God, a godly energetic in it. Even the lowest of the low, the most highness of the highness, the clod of dirt, all of it. And as I said earlier, there's a historical background that he introduces this letter with. The historical background is that the Misnagdim, or those who hadn't learned the Kabbalah of the Arizal, found it a very strange thing to say that even an evil person is being enlivened by God. But we're stepping back from it because we have the teaching, and maybe even it makes even logical sense to say, of course, I mean, where else does the life force come from, if not from the one who is called the Chai HaChayim, the life of all life force? So having said that, Ukanaida, it's 2/3 of the way down over on the left. There's a little notation in the book. It's today's date and the word Kanaida. Ukanaida, as is known, Mashikosev, that is known to us, Masha Omer, excuse me, what Omer HaBaal Shem Tov, Zacharenu L'Bracha, what the Baal Shem Tov said on the pasuk, and that's the pasuk that we just quoted in Hayom Yom, pasuk in Tilim. The Baal Shem Tov said on the pasuk, what's the pasuk? La'olam Hashem devoracha nisa b'shamayim. Forever, Hashem, your word stands in the heaven. Which means, very literally, not just poetically, very literally, shetzirif oisius, the form of the letters, Aleph, Beis, Gimel, the form of the Hebrew letters, that picture in your mind, take an Aleph, there's an energetic that's in that shape, an energetic, a godly life force that takes that shape. The letters are a reflection of that shape. So those letters now become real vessels for godly energy, and at the same time, the letters that we see on the page that we're learning and in the Holy Torah are metaphors for our pictorial representations better of the particularizations of the life force as the life force is involved in creation. So these letters, Shenivru Bahem HaShamayim, with which God created the heavens, and we say, of course, this is Bereshis Bora Elokim Shamayim Esaores. He created the heavens and earth, and each day we express that creative activity of Hashem through the language of speech. V'yemer v'yehi, it says also in Tehillim. He said, and things come into being. And on day one, he spoke the light into existence. On day two, he spoke the firmament into existence. And these are the Maimorim, the Asura Maimorim, the second of which is Yehirakia. Let there be a dividing between the uppers and the lowers. So these words, which Hashem spoke on day 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., this wasn't a one-time thing. Hey, Nitzaves ve'oimdois, they stand and continue to stand, mulabeshes maluvshais, enclosed b'shamayim, in the heavens, la'olam, forever, always. Lahachayesim, to keep them in existence, lahachayesim, to enliven them, l'kayamim, and to l'kayamim, and to keep them in existence. Not Yehafalasoifim, the philosophers, not like the philosophers, not like the opinion of the philosophers, shekaifrim b'hashgacha pratis, who deny the notion of hashgacha pratis. The notion of hashgacha pratis, we say it like God is guiding everything, but here we're emphasizing God is continually got his hands into, his mouth into, his thought into, his speech is continually invested all the time into every single minutiae of creation. And the philosophers don't have this point of view. They imagine in their false imaginations, Esmaisa Hashem, the deed of Hashem in creating, when he created the heavens and earth, Lamaisa Enosh v'tak, like the deed of a person and the person's devices, the way a person, and he's going to use the example of a smith, a silversmith. Once the vessel leaves the hand of the silversmith, the vessel leaves the hand of the smith, the vessel no longer needs the involvement, literally the hand of the smithy. Even though the smithy's hand is now removed from the teapot of silver that he created, or she created, it stands there by itself. So that's that philosophy in general has a name. It's called deism, believing in God, but that God, it's also a version of what's called the clockwork theory of the universe, that God put everything in place like a watch, and he wound it up in such a way that it can tick-tock forever and ever and ever, but he doesn't have anything to do with it. He can go on and do other things. I can't imagine what he would be doing, but he could be doing other things. So that's the viewpoint which the Rebbe lumps amongst the philosophers, who imagine that that's the way creation came into being. There is a God, he wound it up, or he put it in the fire, whichever marshal you like, his marshal would put it in the fire, and now the creation just exists on its own. So the Alter Rebbe says, "Betach moreis einayim." Their eyes, the appearance, the vision of their eyes is covered over. They have a occlusion over their eyes, cataract, God forbid. Hahevdil hagodol, they can't see the very great difference. Sheben masa enush, the deed of a person and the devices that a person has. Shehi yesh miyesh. Now here's the important thing, because the smith, in this example, he has a lump of silver to begin with, number one. Forget the fact that he's not continually invested in it, but his creation is yesh miyesh. He has a lump of silver, and all the creation does, all worldly creators do, is just change the form. So they have a yesh, and they change the form of the yesh. They just change the form, the hatamuna, and the shape. And they imagine that being equivalent to Lamaisa Shemayim Ba'or, it's the deed by which God created the earth, the heavens and the earth. The problem is, where did the yesh come from? So the creation starts before God starts shaping things into existence. There has to be a substance for that to be shaped, and that substance has to come from somewhere. So we call that God's creation is yesh me'ayin, from not literally nothing, meaning from no thing, from a level which is not yet in the sense of a thing. He brings it down into a thing, and he has the raw material now of creation. But even more than that, he keeps investing his no thing, his ayin, into that yesh, so that all of creation is continually invested with the power of God himself as it exists in a state of existence. Because existence, from the way we understand it, the way the Torah tells us, is a yesh me'ayin. V'hu pela gadol, and this creation, yesh me'ayin, bringing substance from the realm of non-substance, is a much greater miracle, Mikriyas Yamsuf, right? The splitting of the sea, Hadarik Mashuf, by way of an example. So what happened by the splitting of the sea? Asher Haylach Hashem Beruach Hadim Oza, Hashem held back the water through his east wind, his strong east wind, Kol Halayla, in the entirety of the night, via buckle, and the waters split. This word kadim is an interesting, it does mean east. Gan Eden is in Kedem, is in the east, but it also means primordial. This breath, I mean, we imagine it as in a cartoon movie, as if big God is blowing with his mouth. But this is a primordial, essential spirit, if you will, that brought that was invested in the water for this time in order to change its nature. However, we're going to see all that happened here was there was a nature of water. Water existed. It has a nature, which we will say that nature, by the way, itself is God-given, and he changed its nature to such an extent. If he were to withdraw, or were to have withdrawn that breath even for a second, the water would return and split and descend as its natural way is. And it would not stand up as a wall. And he then adds, parenthetically, what I had just said, also, you should know the nature of water, that it flows, is also part of the way in which water has been created. And as it has come into existence from nothing to something. Because we see walls of stone They don't need a ruach kedem. They don't need an east wind or primordial investment, new investment of primordial energy in order to stand. That's their nature. They stand by themselves, bli ruach, without any wind. But it's the nature of water is not the same. So, from this little mushal, we see that God had to invest himself in his ruach kedem, his primordial or eastern spirit, into things, into the water, in order to keep it standing. Otherwise, the water would revert to flowing. So similarly, kol shechen v'kal v'chomer, how much more so, b'briyas yesh me'ayin, when it comes to creating something from no thing, shehula mayla mehateva, which is higher than nature, to creating nature from something which is higher than nature, and this is a wondrous wonder, much greater than just the splitting of the sea. Halachas kama v'kama, how much more so is it wondrous that things should remain in existence as a something without there being, analogously, a ruach kedem, a continual east wind, a continual spirit of Hashem being invested in it to keep it to keep it extant. Because if that quote ruach kedem, that spirit of God, that force of speech, the energy of metaphorically dibur, if the letters of God of creation were to be removed, and the perpetuation of the existence of those letters were to be removed for even a second, if they were to depart, God forbid, that would take away the koyach haboira. That would mean we're taking away the power of creation of yesh me'ayin, min hanivra, from the created being. And then the created being would yashuv hanivra la'ayin v'yafis mamish. The created being would return to be what it was before God blew or God spoke it into or speaks it into existence. It would revert to the realm of godliness, which we call no thing. There has to be the power of actualization in the thing actualized all the time, to keep it in a state of enlivened and in existence. What is this category that we call that which keeps things constantly in existence? It's called Devar Hashem, the speech of Hashem, the Ruach Piv, and the breath of his mouth, which were spoken, which was breathed into and spoken into existence, and is spoken into existence. That's their point. Continually, but initially, the first time is in the 10 utterances of creation. Shebahem nivra ha'olam, through which the world has been created. And of course, when we say world, we don't just mean this planet Earth or this physical universe. We mean the whole structure of world, which starts generally from Atzilus on down. Even this particular globe, this world down here below, Agashmi is this physical world, because as I said, he's speaking about spiritual worlds as well, but even this physical world, and the inanimate, the dirt, which is in this world, its life force, and that which keeps it in existence, Udevar Hashem, is the word of Hashem, from the Yud Maimoris of the 10 utterances, Hamalubish Bahem, which is clothed in them, Hamakayim, and keeps them in existence, Liyesh Doimim, to be dirt, inanimate, Liyesh Me'ayin, and in a state of existence from a nothing, a state of thingness from no thing. And that's what keeps them in a state of thingness, so that they don't return to be absolutely nothing, as they were before. And this is what the Arizal says. and we were quoting the Rizal, Shegam b'doimim ka'avonim, even inanimate things like stones, the offer and dirt, umayim and water, yesh behem, they have in them levels of nefesh, soul, v'chayis ruchnius, and spiritual vitality. And that's today's time. So that, it just pops in my mind. There's a saying from Hazal that, be careful what you do. And maybe this could be one of our bechains, one of our takeaways for the day. Be careful where you walk and what you step on. Because in the future, the dirt, the road, the concrete, the rug that you walked on will speak and say, were you engaged in something holy when you walked on me? And here he doesn't mean necessarily just a mitzvah, but an act, a deed that's prescribed al pi Torah that represents your connection with Hashem. And if not, they'll accuse you up above. So be careful. Not just where you put your steps so you don't fall, but with what kavanah you're putting your step down when you walk. Reza, your hand is up. Yes? Maybe no. Anybody else?
I was just thinking that it's disconcerting to think about that the domem is actually from a higher source than us.
Why is it disconcerting? We'd like to think that, just because we'd like to think we're higher?
Yeah, I mean, the domem is not even moving. How is it, what is it accomplishing in this world? But I guess you could say that,
it's singing its song to Hashem.
What? First let
everything
wait a minute, hold on. Elisha was in the middle of a sentence. You could say what?
No, I was just asking, what is the rock accomplishing in this world? But maybe it's accomplishing holding us up, but then that means that we're higher. But we're saying that it is from a higher source.
Okay, Rosa, you got to comment on that?
No,
hold your comment. Let me comment.
I want to bring up that you once told me about how you were walking in Tannersville and you met the Boston Rebbe's son, I think it was.
Yes.
It's such a beautiful, I think it really connects.
Go ahead.
And it was such a beautiful experience that you had. You
want to tell it, or you want me to tell it?
I think you tell it better because it's yours.
Okay. First, let me, in regard to what Elisheva said, the earth is twofold. What we can learn from the earth, what the earth has to teach us. I'm thinking of twofold as probably manifold, right? One, complete bittul. The earth doesn't make a protest when you put your weight on it, right? Doesn't scream, ah! No, it's completely bittul. And number two, and if it's connected, that bittul allows it to be the agent of the koyach hatzameach, the power of growth. So we can learn from the earth at least 2 points in the value of hachnoah, of bittul. One, openness. We need to be open to things which we can't understand. The dirt has no understanding, but it's completely unresistant, completely open to God's will. And when one is open to God's will, one grows, has the power to grow. So that's one thing we could say. I'm sure there's many other things about the supremacy of the dirt over us. Because we get involved in a lot of stuff that interferes with all of that stuff. That's what. Okay, now the story. I'm not sure how this is connected, but maybe you can, Royce. I'll tell you. It's a short story. The way our house is situated.
Trying to be a little more normal today.
What?
I saw the message you sent. Sorry.
Okay, someone off mute. The house is situated in Tannersville, so that when I leave the house to walk down to Shul, I go down a hill. It's beautiful. The mountains are in front of us, and the sun is setting. And as I was walking one day, I was overtaken by, it was the oldest son, actually, of the Boston Rebbe. He was a good friend of my son, Ari. And we're walking together, and I said to him, look at this. Look at the godless of Hashem, the greatness of Hashem. And he said, it isn't the godless, it's the chesed. I said, what do you mean, the chesed, the kindness? He said he could have made it in black and white. But look how beautiful he made it, just for us. So Hashemayim misaprin kavod keil, the heaven, which is inanimate, right? It's just stuff, rocks going around in the heaven. That arrangement and intricacy of movement, the dance of heavens, has it pulses with rhythm. You know, the rhythm is. I mean, we know this today, that everything is based on frequencies, and these frequencies are subconscious. I mean, we're not aware of them. The conscious, the vibration of the atoms going on. Yet that's where, if you could look there, down and forget the dirt, look into the dirt and the atomic structure of the dirt and the magnificent, unbelievable, mind-blowing complexity of interaction between everything. And you see the chesed of Hashem, that he made such an amazingly complex and beautiful structure. So,
but actually, chesed and godless are synonymous, like we see.
Yeah, I know. I know they are, absolutely. But we're playing with it. You know, they have a slightly different meaning. I mean, they're in the same kav, because chesed is expression, right? Effusion, and that's greatness. But chesed has a certain quality. Besides effusion, it connotes, as he was pointing out to me, a sense of beauty and a sense of harmony, because it's pleasing to us. It's not just great, it's pleasing to us. And that pleasingness that he did, that he put into creation, was a great kindness. A great kindness.
That's love. I see that as love.
It is love. It is love. But love and chesed and godless are all from the same thing, the same right side, right? Yeah. Love is the offspring of the meter of chesed. And he created in it not just something great, which is also the notion of expressiveness, but something that allows us to appreciate and love him. Yeah.
He loves us so much that he wants us to enjoy the beauty. He just, it feels like such a loving, excited for us.
Yeah,
you know,
it is.
Gesture.
It is. Yeah. It's like he can't wait to give us this gift. And yeah. So therefore what?
Well, I think you expressed it so well. Just any beautiful, I can't see the mountains right now, but any beautiful part of Hashem's creation, fall, foliage, anything, don't just walk past it. Remember that this is Elokus, it's Getlokite.
Right. Now let's just turn it a bit back to the focus here. It doesn't have to be beautiful for us to have that same appreciation. On the contrary, right? We've just been talking about here, remember yesterday, the one who stands in your face and bothers you in the middle of davening, a rather common and benign compared to what we're seeing in front of us today. Even that can only be doing that because there's a spark of creation in it, a spark of God within it. And if we, as the ones who are responsible for teaching the world the way the world really is and what the world can be, could just and would just find a way of bringing that to the consciousness of everybody, then maybe the world would be a world in which people, even the one who's in your face, would realize that he's been created for a purpose, and that isn't his purpose. His purpose is to manifest godliness, like everything is meant to manifest godliness. And the world would be a different world. Anyway, that's the hope, and that's the wish, and that's the promise, not that I'm making, that God is making, that there will be, any moment now, a revelation of what's completely hidden in the darkness, that is this Hashem who is managing everything, and it's up to us whether that everything is going to reveal light or the opposite of light. So I guess we can end with that. Tomorrow, another day.
Thank you.